West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee's meeting that has been called of all opposition parties has already received a blow after the TRS. Now, the second invitee, the Aam Aadmi Party, has decided to skip the meeting at the Constitutional Club. The YSRCP, of course, is not invited to this meeting, and what we are also learning is that there is no common consensus candidate that has emerged from the opposition side for the role of president. So in a sense, even before what we were believing to be opposition unity, and before even these opposition parties could come together, we are now hearing one after the other that they have all pulled out. To begin with, of course, we saw the BJD pull out yesterday. Today we have heard that the TRS and the Aam Aadmi Party both have decided to pull out. Let's go across to our senior executive editor, Abhishek Kapoor, who's joining me on the phone line. Abhishek, it doesn't seem that opposition unity is very forthcoming at this point in time, at least. And what's adding to this is, of course, the fact that they don't really have a common candidate, because we haven't heard from the opposition in terms of who are they going to support.
Well, absolutely. It's almost becoming a non-starter, Nupur. So we have heard the name of Sharad Pawar, but he backed out yesterday in his meetings with CPM, CPI leaders Sitaram Yechuri and D. Raja. Aam Aadmi Party also made an outreach, and he has very clearly told them he's not a candidate. And we have had a statement also. We had the name of Yashwant. Trinamool has already said that it cannot be from their part. Congress, of course, with low acceptability among regional parties, Congress, to begin with, said that it need not be from the Congress. And now we are in a situation where TRS, because it's uncomfortable with Congress being present in the opposition meet, has decided to absent itself. And because it is clear now that there might not be any name possible, the Aam Aadmi Party also has decided to skip the meet on the pretext that their convener, Arvind Kejriwal, is now out of town. So essentially that leaves Trinamool and the Congress and the Samajwadi Party. And this clearly means that the opposition unity, even before they could meet and discuss a possible name, lies in tatters. It would be interesting to watch out how things pan out from here, whether whatever 4 or 5 parties remain, if they are able to thrash out a name, would it get wider acceptability among the larger opposition? And given the fact that the NDA already has numbers almost on its side, maybe needing 1 or 2 more parties, would someone be willing to bite the bait, or would it be just reduced to a very symbolic fight between the NDA and the rest of the opposition?
Right, absolutely. As you're pointing out, of course, Abhishek, it does appear that, with the numbers really not on their side, this is something that opposition parties will want to avoid, isn't it? Because at the end of the day, if you put up a candidate, there should at least be some decent numbers to support it.
Well, absolutely. So, Nupur, till some time ago, it was at least a ragtag coalition of opposition forces, but now it's just about individual egos. So, for example, when Congress started the process of consultations, Mamata Banerjee thought she could be one up on the Congress and shot off those letters to 22 parties. And now we are in a situation where many of them are withdrawing themselves, to the extent that even the CP and CPI, the left party, because they are uncomfortable with Mamata, they are not sending their top leaders, Sitaram Yechuri or D. Raja, but some other MPs, just to be seen there and to represent the left and the other parties we have discussed. To begin with, for example, Mamata Banerjee did not even invite YSRCP and Telugu Desam Chandrababu Naidu. So what we are seeing is egos playing out, personal equations playing out, and likes and dislikes playing out in the opposition ranks even before the first meeting, and that does not bode well for whatever candidate they are able to decide upon, because that candidate himself or herself would be very conscious of the fact that he or she is a compromised candidate, and to that extent, as I said, this might get reduced to a very symbolic fight, given the fact that the numbers are already in favor of NDA in many ways.
Absolutely. So what we are seeing, Abhishek, is also, a lot of personal equations that are playing out between opposition members. For the moment, thank you for joining us, Abhishek. And let's just look at how the numbers really stack up in these presidential elections. It does, at the moment, seem that the NDA seems to have the numbers game in its side.
The President of India is voted by a secret ballot with a single transferable vote. Now, there is proportional representation in this vote, which is aimed at giving equal weight to the Parliament on one side and total electors from state assemblies on the other. Now, the whole idea of the presidential election is that states should have an equal say in electing the President of India, or the President of India should represent the Parliament as much as all state assemblies. Now, let's look at the last election. In 2017, 776 parliamentarians from both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha and about 4,120 MLAs from state assemblies constituted the electoral college for the last presidential election. Ramnath Kovind, the president, got about 65.45% of the votes against Meera Kumar, who got about 34.35% votes. She was the opposition candidate. The total votes polled back then were about 10,98,900. Now, to win, 5,49,452 votes were needed in 2017, and Ramnath Kovind, who became the President of India, got over 7 lakh votes. Now, let's tell you how the votes add up. And this is the math. Each parliamentarian or each MP equals about 708 votes, but the MLA vote varies across states, and there is a formula to it. The formula for the votes of an MLA is the state population divided by 1,000 divided by the number of MLAs in that assembly. So for UP, let's give you an example. 20,000 crore divided by 1,000, which would be 2 lakhs, divided by 403, which is the number of MLAs in Uttar Pradesh, which is about 500 votes per MLA in UP. For example, in Delhi, it's a different number, because the population is roughly about 2 crore divided by 1,000, which is about 20,000, divided by 70, which is the number of MLAs, and per MLA will be 285 votes. Now, like this, the total votes of all MLAs of the country across all states is calculated, and then parliamentarians are given vote equal to total vote of legislators. Now, which comes roughly to a fixed figure of 1 MP is equal to 708 votes. Now, let's look at how the total votes stack up in this election. This time, 10.86 lakhs is the total number of votes. 10.86 lakhs. Now, as of today, the NDA has about 5.26 lakh votes, with MPs and MLAs included in all the BJP ruled states and from both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha. Now, that's roughly about 49% of the votes that is needed for the NDA candidate to push through, which means the NDA just needs about 1% more to push their presidential candidate. And all that they need is just one party, either the YSRCP, the BJD, or the AIADMK, and the NDA would sail through. Now, we already know that the YSRCP and Jagan Mohan Reddy's party is already on board, so it's a done deal, which means the NDA candidate will 99.99% sail through. Now, where does the opposition stand? Where does this leave the opposition? Because there is a meeting today. Mamata Banerjee is meeting opposition parties. All of them are in Delhi and they're going to have this big meeting. But do they have the numbers? The Congress has about 10% of the votes. 10%, that's it. And the UPA, including the Congress, has about 25% of the votes. That's the UPA with the Congress has 25%. And the rest of the opposition has about 10% more of the votes. So even if the entire opposition unites, it's only about 35% of the votes, which is way short than the number that's needed. NDA has the edge, so will Mamata's meeting help? Maybe not.